What's up, guys? Welcome to the channel. I'm Lowell Henderson. This is Simply Fishing, as most of you already know, and today we're going to be throwing a Texas rig and a shaky head rig, and I'm going to explain why I throw each in the various places. So hang around, maybe we'll get a fish. If not, we're going to enjoy a very beautiful day out. It is absolutely gorgeous. Probably going to be 63-4 degrees today. Almost perfect fishing weather. Stick around, I'll see you when I get set up. Alright guys, what I'm doing this morning is I'm working two different shaky heads. Right now I'm fishing a long tapered point. I'm actually sitting fairly deep, sitting in 14 feet of water. I'm pretty sure this is a 3/8 or a ½ ounce shaky head with a 5-inch stick bait. And I am working, basically fan casting this long point. And this is a rocky point. It's got small rocks across it. And to me, the shaky head is a really good bait. I can cover the deeper water with this bait. It gets down pretty quick. And I'm not fishing it really slow. I'm bringing it across. I'm bringing it back, just raising my rod tip, bumping it every now and then, trying to attract a little attention, and that's how I'm working the deeper side of these points. When I'm fall fishing, it's kind of junk fishing to me. I just fish a lot of what I come to in my kayak versus a bigger boat can run and target specific sections of the lake. Well, us kayak fishermen, we kind of got to fish what we come to, and we come to a lot of different types of terrain, water depths, because we're picking each area apart, fishing basically how we feel each area should be fished. So that's basically junk fishing 101. And right now I am feeling the bottom. I'm feeling every little rock. It's a lot more rocky out here deep than it was straight out ahead of me in the little bit shallower section, which is what you're looking for. I'm hoping to catch a spotted bass or two today. I don't know that I will. We've got these bluebird skies. I feel like the largemouth are probably tucked up into the grass all around the lake. So I kind of came out with the idea maybe I can go and catch me some spots. Nothing so far, but I've worked the deep section. Let me get this bait up here and I'll show you what I'm doing. I think you can see that. Big 5-inch stick bait on a nice 3/8 or ½ ounce. I forget which one that is. I'm swapping over. I'm going to fish shallow for a minute. And I've got a 1/4 ounce, throwing a 6-inch lizard on a 1/4 ounce shaky head, and I'm going to use that shallow. Doesn't have to. I like the lightest weight I can get away with. I like the slower fall most of the time, but you don't want to use a 1/4 or 1/8 ounce head when you're fishing deep water. It takes it forever to get there, and then you may not even can stay in contact with the bottom. So 1/4 ounce to 1/8 ounce heads when I'm fishing the shallow part of the points. I go to a heavier head when I'm fishing deeper points. And I don't know if, and the reason I like the shaky head out on these points is versus say the Texas rig worm, which I know this is what this whole video today is about. The shaky head is better for me for open water. I don't want to put it in a bunch of brush to get hung up, but it covers these rocky points pretty well. All right, guys, I'm back in the creek, and I've come up in some little areas that still has got really good water depth. It's got some brush, and this is another prime area where I will put my Texas rig worm in versus the shaky head. The shaky head, it's my open water, bottom bouncing bait, and the Texas rig, which is weedless for the most part. I've got my hook on the outside of the worm tucked up against it, so if I get up in the V of a limb and pull, it will still get hung, but for the most part the Texas rig comes through almost everything most of the time. As long as you don't get crazy and jerk it every time you touch a stick, you can usually work it out. Another thing I'm doing today that I haven't done in a long time is each of these places that I'm stopping and checking out, I'm dropping a camera overboard on a float and checking just to see what we get. So possibly we'll have some, and I've got my camera set at 10 foot. Over the last few weeks I've noticed bass in the 10-foot range, so I wanted to see if I could possibly capture some bass on camera underwater. And in the past I've actually had some spots come up and actually just look dead at the camera before. It's pretty neat to watch how they don't know what the camera is, and it doesn't really scare them. It's just sort of floating along. So maybe we'll get something. If I do, I'm gonna be sure to share it with you. But the main thing today is I'm running a few spots. I don't have a lot of time to spend out on the water today, so I'm trying to make the most of it and just trying to get a bass in the boat. So far I'm just fishing and enjoying the day. But the main thing of the goal of the video is to explain, because a lot of guys don't, are confused, some of them, of shaky head fishing versus Texas worm fishing. And I know when I first started, I read years and years ago in Bassmaster how versatile the Texas rig worm was, and I basically fished it for years. It was my go-to bait. I fished that Texas worm, and years down the road I found out that the shaky head can give that same little bit of plastic completely different action and catch fish that otherwise you would never know were there. The shaky head definitely, you can work it faster across flats, across points. You can put it in a lot of the same places as the Texas rig, but you run the risk of getting hung up more. The Texas rig worm is definitely its own tool in the toolbox. You guys probably heard me say that before. And anytime you've got brush or weeds or trash, the Texas rig worm really shines above the shaky head worm. It doesn't mean the fish won't bite either one in either place, but it's just a different tool for different situations. And that's the main goal of today, is just to explain how I use these two baits. The shaky head, which I'm going to move out of here in just a few minutes and hit a couple more main lake points out where the wind's blowing. I got back in here so I could talk for just a second and fish without the wind blowing me around. Got a lot of wind out on the main channel, 6-7 miles an hour. Up in here it's pretty calm. It looks like most of the main action is probably going to be out in the wind. Maybe I'll grab one before I have to leave. Who knows? It's still a gorgeous day. I love being out here. The squirrels and there's a family of otters that live up this little creek I see almost every time I come up in here. And they are a lot of fun to watch. And 2 beavers. So a lot of wildlife. I don't know where my beavers are today, but I've already seen the little otters once. But I need to see a bass. Guys, this is a prime area I like to throw the Texas rigworm. It'll come through the grass a lot easier than the shaky head. Doesn't come back with a lot of grass, and if they're in there, it will generally draw a strike. And you can feel every little thing on the bottom, the rocks, the more grass, and so a lot of times bumping that thing off the individual grass stems. I got in a stick or something, but bumping off that grass will also a lot of times trigger the strike. Oh, I think I got a stick. Nope, just the grass. But that Texas rig will come through this grass where the shaky head, it'll hang up. Well guys, I pulled up onto another spot, tried to line my boat up where we won't be facing the sun. That's been hard to do today with this wind coming out of the north. But I'm out on one of these long main lake points, and there's a few stumps, not a lot, a few little gravels, but this is a really good area to throw the bigger shaky head, probably the 3/8 or ½ ounce head on it. It keeps it in contact with the bottom, even with the wind that's going on today. I can still feel the bottom. It's not as hard a bottom as I had fished a couple of places today, so I may not stay here long. I've really moved around a lot. Like I said, I've only got just a couple of hours to hang today, and I'm gonna have to hoof it on back to the house. So I'm covering a lot of different places, a few minutes at a time, and moving on, setting up and going again, and just determining where I end up is the bait I'm throwing. I'm in deeper water, so I got the heavier shaky head. The last little point that I stopped on back behind me, I got a bite in between the 2 points that I was going to work. I didn't get a bite on the first point, and so I moved actually up on the point fairly shallow and threw it and made fan cast in the pocket itself and got a bite, and it just kind of caught me off guard, and I missed him. First bite of the day, and boy, that hurts when you know that could be your only day out in cold water or cold weather when you miss one, because that may have been it for the day. But I'm gonna work this, and then I'm gonna work my way on up out onto the point and work it really good. And I got about 3 more spots I want to hit, and then I'm gonna have to call it a day. But I've got some shallower spots I want to get back over to get that Texas worm going again. And and maybe if I can get out of the wind just a little bit, get my small shaky head back in action. But this wind is really strong. It's 6, 7, 8 miles an hour most of the time out here on the main part. I think I said earlier, more than likely the largemouth are tucked up into the grass. I was just kind of hoping today to come out and catch a spot or two. Usually cold weather, they really get cranked up, and just hadn't been that way today so far. So, but not having all day like normal to fish, I didn't expect I was going to load the boat. And this bottom really just doesn't feel right, so I'm about to up anchor and move on out on the edge of this point that's straight up ahead. I think you'll be able to see the trees out here that's running out. I want to get up in about 9 or 10 feet of water out off that point where I can work the far side coming up to me. Most of my bites have been off the sides of the point, so I'm not real concerned about getting any closer before I move right up on it, anchor down, and I'm gonna work the other side. So I'll get back with you in just a second. All right, guys, I am actually on my last cast for the day. I have had a really good time. No fish to show, unless I get one on this last cast. But I just didn't really expect to come out here and load the boat. I just really wanted to show the two different baits and how I use them. I used and just to go back over it real quick, I used the shaky head, worm, lizard, you know, anything, just about anything you can fish on a shaky head. I use for more open water, rock piles, stuff like that. And the Texas rig, I'm gonna put in brush, bring it through the grass, any kind of, you know, around the laydowns. That's the two differences for me. When I first started fishing, the Texas rig was, you know, when I was a kid, I read about it, and that goes back to as far back as, and this will tell you how old I am, back in the early 70s, when Bassmaster was really getting going. My family lived down in Eufaula, Alabama, and I could remember as a little kid, and I was blessed, my dad worked at the Chihuahua Marina down there, and I got to witness firsthand the beginning of BASS, and the guys running around coming in and out the place down there at that time would have been Bill Dance, Stan Sloan, Roland Martin, to name a few. This was even before Hank Parker had started. So another big one down there that will always, you know, be a part of my memories would be Tom Mann. But I remember reading about these guys catching bass on a Texas rigged worm, and it stuck with me for so long that I just dismissed learning, I guess, about other things for years, not knowing that, hey, there's better ways to do things. Or the Texas rig worm is a great tool, but that's what it is. It's a tool that, just like a carpenter has tools in his toolbox, we fishermen have tools in our tackle box. And there are times that the shaky head worm or lizard or grub or whatever you're throwing is gonna outperform a Texas rig, simply because of the action. The action's completely different, and you know, it looks like two completely different things in the water. The shaky head gives you a more swimming type action. The Texas rig is great. It looks like something basically feeding off the bottom. So that's the main purpose of the video today. I'm about to have to wind it up and head back. I've just realized that when I pulled up on this last spot, I put my camera out and I just looked back and the wind has taken it about a half a mile down the lake. So I need to go get that retrieved before, or my floating camera that is. I've got one floating set, and I think I already said this before, set it about 10 feet deep. So hopefully I got something. May just be a lot of murky water, who knows. Sometimes I get really cool stuff underwater. I've had a turtle look at it. I've had spotted bass swim up to it and look at it. If I've got anything whatsoever, I'll be glad to share it. And you guys, I appreciate you so much. I've had a great day. I met some old friends at the ramp. I've met some old friends and talked to out here on the water. And I made a new friend today. And they came back after going down the lake, come back and showed me the big crappie that they had caught. Absolutely makes my day to sit out and talk fishing with somebody. So if you see me in my little bright yellow boat out here on the lake or any of our area lakes or anywhere, don't worry about bothering me. Come talk to me. I love it. It's as much fun to me as catching a fish is the fellowship that goes back and forth to the fishermen that have respect for each other and truly enjoy the outdoors for what they're meant to be. Anyway, I'm Lowell Henderson. This is Simply Fishing. I gotta go catch my other camera that's getting away before somebody else does. You guys stay safe on the water. I'll see you next time.